All right.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm doing a little double duty because Eastside's in his job orientation. I have to be at that too, so I'm listening to both things.
Oh, I'm glad he's working.
Yeah, it's actually an organization I founded some years ago, co-founded, but it's his second summer.
Cool. Even better.
Yeah, we just so I have my headphones on talking to you, and he's on his laptop.
Uh-oh. So what organization is that?
It's called Trace. It's teens. It's an acronym for Teens Reimagining Art, Community, and Environment. It's a program of the Chicago Park District.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I started as a lead artist in 2006, and then I think in 2008 we actually formed a new version of it called Trace. So, and then I was still lead artist for several years, and then I just became a consultant for the last 5 years of my time with them. So,
Okay.
yeah. But we are here. We got a chance to meet Fatumbi in person on Sunday.
Oh, nice. Well, I don't know.
Hey, y'all.
Hello. I think because I'll see if y'all can see. Roz is here with
Oh, nice. Hey. Welcome back.
Hey, Rob.
You're having a full meetup.
Hey.
Eastside says hello.
Hello.
Hey. I don't know if I'll be able to for you guys to see her the whole time. I just wanted to make sure she said hello. She's taking care of some business.
So you went right to the source, huh?
Yeah, she has some stuff to do, so she's getting
Looks
stuff
like we all
together.
do. Looks like we all do.
Yeah, right. Andreas, actually, she may be doing some stuff together. Yes, he's doing stuff. So she may be working it out with you in September.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Things are in alignment.
Yeah. It's going to be a different format today. Some of you may have seen I just changed the class content to something different. I don't need to restore. Well, I guess I will. So we're doing a little something different. In this very last minute, it's all inspired. So I want to give folks a little time to get in.
But it's still Dada, isn't it?
Nope.
Oh.
It's not Dada.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about Dada as I planned. I think I wanted to be more interactive today, and I wanted to give everyone a chance to kind of, because there's so many things coming up this summer. There's so many things already happening. An initiation was just completed. And I'm gonna be initiating someone in October. So, there's a lot to talk about. And I wanna give us a chance just to, it just gave me thoughts around for those of us who are here in Chicago and involved in either, your own development or working to support someone else as they go through their development. I just thought it was a good day for us to talk about how that works with inner alignment with Orisha, how we show up in those spaces when those moments happen. And what we can do to learn and grow and experience community together, especially now with things opening up. This weekend, for those of you who had the chance to come to the drum, some of y'all were there. It felt very much like a drum. There was Some folks have masks, but because so many folks are vaccinated, like that, like the vast majority, because so many people in our ELA are in healthcare. In fact, more than half of the people are either practitioners and literally like nurses or some way. So everyone's vaccinated. So there was a lot more liberty around that in terms of how people interacted with each other. So it felt very much like one would maybe call even post-COVID, maybe giving us a glimpse of what post-COVID life might be like, right? It was packed, it was hot, it was dancing. The Orisha came and joined us, which was beautiful, and gave messages. And so it really felt like things we can see a horizon of what we might experience post-COVID. So I wanted to just talk about what that life looks like in relationship to inner alignment with Orisha and give everyone a chance. So this is I'm not gonna do a PowerPoint today. This is gonna be just a discussion. I started to prepare one, but I just only had one image that came to mind that I wanted to share with you guys. And that image is of this lady right here. Who's been on my mind. That's Fermina Gomez. I've talked about her with you guys. She is the one who she's the one who has made it possible for us to know about Olokun, and has kept those traditions going. And so I wanted to give us a chance to just, keep her in mind, because when I do work, I do think about her, because I think about the fact that she came from Egbado land. I've talked about her in class before, right? Mm-hmm. She's a progenitor. She's the one who even despite being enslaved, brought a lot of structure, knowledge, secrets, and continuity to our traditions. She is really, and so whenever we enter into a spiritual or sacred space that's related to Orisha, we're really paying homage to her in many ways. Her and others like her. Yai, who is a priest of Aganju, who's rumored to have initiated like 300 people. But these women, these Black women, really did everything that we take for granted. They developed a system to make sure that we had that, that we had a way to know how to be in community together, and know a way how to be a part of this thing called Orisha worship. And so I just wanted to just give her some space, just to look at her face, just to see her face, to see her fan, to see her shawl, to see her sitting there on her rock. And just to remember that she is the reason why we are here. We are together. We are able to, like I say, give Olokun to people, initiate people to Olokun and to all of the other Orisha. Some of our family members in our ELA had the distinct honor to, her Olokun stayed on earth, even though she was initiated priest and had Olokun. When a priest dies, it's determined where their Orisha go. Their Orisha can either stay with family or leave with them to return to Orun. And so that's divined upon. And her Olokun chose to stay. And so her descendants keep her Olokun in the family to this day. So one can go to the province in Cuba where she lived and died, and actually see and be in the presence of and worship with the Olokun that she was initiated to. And that is, so we still literally have a connection of lineage and physical presence of her spiritual connection to her Orisha on earth that we can still connect with. So it is very real and very, 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 very real who she is and what she is, because some of us in our Elay have actually witnessed that. And so I just wanted to give her some space because she was on my mind today. So I think she wanted us to remember her today. So I wanted to give her space and give you a space to see her face and remember that she is our spiritual Egun. For those of us who are in this house and inherit this lineage, she is our ancestor. Anyone who's received anything from me, if it's an Aleke, if it's a warrior, if it's an Orisha, all of those things means that you, by receiving those things spiritually, means that you've received something that connects to the lineage of Hermina Gomez. So I just wanted to kind of give us that grounding and to remind us that this is connected to people who really sacrificed everything to make it possible for us to continue to be have access to this thing we call Orisha, and have access to the knowledge, secrets, and opportunities for growth that come with it. So I just wanted to ground us in that and talk about that today. I've covered a lot of information about Orisha for months now, and I was sharing with a priest today about this class. I said, I do an inner alignment with Orisha class. I do it on Fridays. And she said she said every week. And she was really puzzled. This is a priest who's, she actually just initiated somebody this weekend. She said every week. I said, well, most weeks, yeah. There are weeks I've missed because because I'm here, basically because I'm in the Elay. That's why I missed, or something else has come up. But yeah, pretty much. And I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy the class. I actually enjoy giving it. And she said, wow, that's a commitment. And I hadn't thought about it. I really honestly hadn't thought about it as a commitment to say, I'm gonna share information and knowledge about an Orisha every single week that I can, right? And impart that information to those who want to listen and take it in. And so I hope that for those who have been coming regularly, that you are getting something out of the class. And one thing that I want to impart is that it is good to listen and learn and ask questions, because you never know when that's going to come up. Speaking of ceremony, one of the ceremonies there are several ceremonies that happened this past weekend alone. There was an ancestor ceremony that happened where the earth was fed, which some of you had some access to witness some of it, because it involved some stuff that only really priests should see. So folks who aren't initiated really couldn't see everything. There was several bajadas for people to get their head marked, which is also a ceremony, right? And some people who are here had their head marked this weekend. There was an initiation that happened this weekend. There was to Yamaya, and I was actually at the Elay today because the new priest now had to leave the house, and there's a whole process for how that happens that I helped to assist with. There was warriors that were born. That was another ceremony. There were Alekes that were born for 5 people. Oh no, 8 people in one weekend. And 7 people received the warriors, the full set of warriors this weekend. So there was a lot going on this weekend. All ceremonies. All ceremonies. And each ceremony, when we have these classes, these ceremonies, there's information from these classes that feed into what may have been witnessed. If you're at a Bahada and you're getting your head marked, and you're wondering maybe if there's, because people come with their own idea of who their Orisha is. There's no way around it. Everybody does it. It's like a human thing, right? Everyone's human, right? Right? There's this human reaction, right? And I want to hear from you guys. For those of you who have gone through the Bahada experience, what was that? You know, share what you can, share what you want to share about that thought of going from who you thought was your Orisha to who is your Orisha. And then I'm going to ask you to talk about how maybe information that you've learned has helped you to see things differently, which I'm going to talk a little bit afterwards. Because I think everyone who's head marked is the Orisha has been covered. Yes, everyone. Even the Oya, that we have an Oya, a child of Oya amongst us now. So I just want to hear from you all what that experience was like. And relate that in the way you best can, since you've been coming to these classes most of you have been coming pretty much faithfully, right? How do you relate that experience to inner alignment with the Orisha? No pressure. Should I start? You can start. Yes. Roz is going to start. I'm gonna pass the screen to her.
Well, I went into that ceremony knowing that it was going to be a heavy, dramatic thing because I had witnessed it, and it was something that I knew was going to be okay. This is not anything just, so I knew that. I also know that just because you have an idea or an affinity doesn't necessarily mean that that's who your head Orisha is. So I knew that, but I still felt a strong affinity. And I think I went in thinking it was one of two Orisha. Should I say?
It's up to you. It's your choice.
So Shango had been appearing pretty regularly for me. So I kind of thought, oh, you know, it's probably Shango.
That actually, you're right about that. He has been.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. I never necessarily felt an affinity for him, but he was showing up pretty regularly. So I thought, okay, maybe Shango. But I've always had a really close connection with the water. So, and I've had experiences at the water that I know it's like something with the water. So, I was really thinking Yemeya was probably going to have something to do with it.
I can see that.
Yeah, well, even the Babylao said that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm, that's what I was thinking, but I knew better than to assume. And sitting through the ceremony, that was a lot. That ceremony is a lot. It's almost like your whole life is being read. And it was a lot to absorb. And when the Babylao said that it was Elegua.
Actually, in this case, he's an Oriate. He's not a Babylao. He's a Oba Oriate, which is like a master ceremony.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So when he said it was Elegua, I laughed. Because no way was I expecting. That never, ever occurred to me. Nothing ever, 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 ever. So my mind was blown. My mouth was open. I'm just like, what?
But then think about what happened this year for your reading.
And You looked at my shocked, dazed expression. And she's like, think about it. Yes, Legba has been coming up very, very strongly this year. And the thing is, I think anything with this tradition though, it just takes time for you to really absorb and think about it. Then it starts to make sense. Once I had time to really think about it, it's like, what do I do for a living? I travel. What does the Lego do? He opens and guides all of it. It makes sense, but it was so unexpected. I just never, ever occurred to me. And the teachings that we've had, that has been really, really, really helpful because I was able to process all the things that Legba does influence besides the obvious. Like, I was talking to Olakunya, who is a priest of Olakun, and I wasn't even talking about Legba, but I was saying, I grew up near the railroad tracks. And he's like, of course you grew up near the railroad tracks. I'm like, but
That's funny.
never made that connection. But because we've learned these details, it makes perfect sense.
It's been with you all along. That's what you learned.
Yeah, he's been with me all along. And also that water connection, because my Legua is from the sea. So it all connects. It totally connects. And I just, I felt guided and supported in ways that I hadn't realized I had been guided and supported because I've been working with him all year. But I thought I was working with him just because this was the year that I was working with him, not that he was in my head Orisha. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. We didn't plan this, by the way. She literally, her Uber wouldn't leave. But her Uber left her here and stranded, basically. So she was like, can I stay for the class? I'm like, yeah, sure. So, so thank you for sharing that. I think with what we've talked about so far in this class, that, sometimes thinking about how, inner alignment works is, you thinking about how an event like a Bahada can work to give you insights, because it's not just a reading of your Orisha, it's a reading, like she mentioned, it's a reading really of where you are in your life and what things in your life have really, and maybe even intergenerationally, as in another case, it can tell the life story not only of you, but of your family and your legacy and where you fit into all of that. And so it's a heavy lift, but if you think about inner alignment with Orisha, the whole goal is to ensure that a person has a sense of who they are and how the Orisha support them in who they are, and helps propel them towards goals that help them to align with their destiny. And I think a lot of what we've talked about in class helps with that. The questions you guys have asked have really helped to eliminate those questions. And so keep asking questions, keep asking questions of yourself and how, and I know some of you are going through that introspection. And that's a very important process in this. And so I'm just going to encourage you guys to continue to do that. And remember, we're talking about ceremony today. So we talked about the Bahada and inner alignment with Orisha. I want to talk about just what everyone experienced. So some of you haven't worked in an elay or worked when, during something that's happening, right? So for some of you, who, when we get a chance to do that, it'll be a new experience. But I want to give people a chance who've been in ceremony in the elay to talk about what that experience has been like, and to share just what the what the feeling, what it feels like to be in that experience when you're an Alea or an Orisha, and how you navigate those experiences. So I want to give everybody a chance who's had that experience. And if you have questions about those experiences, I want you to ask too. I'm not going to call nobody out. I'm just going to let whomever wants to talk. Because I know Roz wasn't there this weekend, but I know she's done some of that. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to put you all on the spot. You want to.
I can talk about. I just gotta move because I don't want to. You might hear Esai's training in the background, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna move over here. Hopefully, you won't hear the dogs barking. But I'll be real quick. I want quickly just answer your first question and then kind of come back to this latest one. It's interesting for me because I didn't really have like I've been kind of loosely around. Sorry, I've been around people who are practitioners. No one I knew when I was younger was initiated, but just when I was in college, I met a lot of people who families are practitioners. Actually, one of my friends' father's a Babalao. So I kind of always kind of knew things, but didn't really know enough because I was still very outside. But early on, I remember as I kind of learned more, I was in college. I was like, I don't know. It's just like just things about me. Like, I like toys, like candy and sweets. I like cigars and just all these things. Like all these things about like kind of corners and when I was studying architecture, like all these sort of things. Like this affinities that I had for certain designs or things made me like think at the time. I was like, oh well, maybe this is like, you know, a legua or something. Or at the time, I knew it was a legua. But then I actually didn't think about it after that. Like, it's kind of like a period of time where that happened, and I just didn't think about it anymore. And I do remember coming to the first reading I had with Ia, and so I had to do a reading because Isai was being just for his pathway. So, so his progression, I should say, to the religion. And so I remember I wasn't surprised that. That I was being called to the religion in any way. It was just more like confirmation I had been running away from it for a long time, right? Like I was put in around these people for a particular reason. And so that was kind of one confirmation for me. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I think I even said that to you. I was like, yeah, I believe something, but I just I wasn't ready for it. So that's why I haven't approached it. And so then, but Oshun had definitely come up in the readings I've had with Ia. And so then I just started to kind of think, well, maybe that's my, I won't get into it, but I had a very visceral reaction. Actually, I didn't even tell you this, Ia, but I had a very visceral reaction the first time we met. And I won't get into it right now. I'll talk about it another time, but it was very like, it was like unsettling, not in a negative way, but it's unsettling because I was like, I didn't expect that reaction. And I think that's when I realized that the Orisha was speaking to me. I didn't know who, but someone was speaking to me in a particular way. And it was a really uncanny experience. So, I just was assuming that. And then I actually wasn't thinking much about, I was just kind of like going in open. Just like, I don't know what's going to happen. So let me just kind of be open and not be thinking about how the dice are going to be rolled, if you will, or how the shells, the other calories come together. And then it was interesting because Obatala came up, and it's even more interesting because I had a chance to experience Esai's as well. So I got a chance to kind of see both parts, right? So here's my son and kind of seeing his experience, and then having my own experience, and I actually didn't even really. It was funny because I guess I wasn't even thinking about Obatala, so I was just like, I didn't really understand what was happening at that point because I was just like, oh, okay, then I thought it was something else going on, and then it's like it was kind of said the why and what I'm supposed to do, and then I started to think about like just my spirit and my, like one of my good friends always calls me Baba because he's like, you're always the person that's like, you're like the person like that is wise and trying to like bring things together and kind of keep peace with people. And she always like consults with me. So people always consult with me about stuff. I think that's really interesting. And I didn't really know, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't actually been in the class when we were talking about, because to be honest with you, like I haven't been doing like deeper readings of the Orisha. Just been kind of like, just as we had the classes and as we talk about things, I just kind of soak it in. And so after that reading, when I started to kind of read more and about I was like, oh, this all kind of makes sense now. It's like, um, and to top it off real quick, that Isai had, when he went to Brazil a couple years ago with his mom and he had his reading, he actually had bought an Obatala doll that's in the form of Oshala. And he didn't want it when he came back to the States. So I was like, well, I'll take it. And it had been, and I literally, so I got, we had our head marking on it. Huh? Oh, it's done? Okay. Sorry. So I was like, so my head was marked on Friday. On Saturday, I was standing next to a stairwell going down our apartment. And I was like, and it hit me. I had that Obatala Oshala doll had been in my house the whole time for like 2 years and never really paid much attention to it. And other than like, I took it in from Eastside. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put it on this mat that I gotten from Jamaica, and I added my tarot deck there and other stuff. And so I was just like, and I was standing there on Saturday, and I was like, I was actually just getting the leashes for the dog, and I was like, wait a minute, that's Obatala's been here the whole time, and I didn't even pay attention to it. But that was interesting. And then there's some other scenarios I won't say much more, but like one of my close friends, who he's my roommate in college. He's like about 4 or 5 years older than me, but we kind of reconnected again recently. And I'm going to send you his Eli's information because he knows some people from Chicago. But he and I have been talking about Eastside and other stuff, and then it turns out like he's been marked for Obatala as well. And so it was like, then we were just talking about that because he was just like, it's crazy how now we're coming back together to talk about Olukumi. He's also the practitioner of Apollo. So I was talking about that with him, and so it's been interesting to kind of just see the synergy. But and then the ceremony, I know I said I was gonna be short, but sorry about that, y'all. And then the ceremony was just like really mind blowing. And honestly, I think we're just, me and Isai are just kind of both on a just kind of like a buzz from it, if you will. And Iya broke down some stuff, kind of the breakdown of it again from my reading and everything yesterday. And I was even talking to my friend about it, and he was just like, yeah, he was like, that was your first Bimbi. And I was like, yeah. He was like, really? He was like, I was like, yeah. He was like, and I talked about, yeah, man, y'all coming down. He was like, that's the first time you seen it? I was like, yeah. He was like, dude. He was like just kind of telling me like, you saw a lot in like a couple of days. He was like, you literally saw, he was like feeding the earth. He was talking about like all the stuff they do in Brooklyn. And he was like, you saw that? And I was like, what he was like, yeah, he's a Leo as well. He was like, you can only see so much, but he was telling me about that. He was talking about how he talked about how a lot of this Elay is mostly women, which I think was also interesting to kind of see, like, I think our experience so far has been, and it's been women, and then to kind of see guys come out over the weekend. Because I've always been asking, I was like, where are all the guys at? Like, I was, and then I asked my friend Nate that, and he was like, yeah, he was like, you guys going to see it's mostly women. He was like, there obviously there are guys around, but he was like, it's really like just like Black women like run it. They run it, running stuff. And then I see, I obviously experienced that this weekend too, but it was interesting to kind of see guys as well and see all the different sort of roles that people had. And yeah, we saw a lot, and I got a chance to things that I was some of the other folks in the Elay from St. Louis they were kind of teaching us things over the times we were there. So I got a chance to prepare the offering and other things. That was the first, the first of obviously going to be a commitment to continue to do it. And then last but not least, I just think the Bimbe was really just powerful because I didn't know what to expect. Isai had been through one before. I've never seen any of this, and so it was just really cool to be in community with people and just to see, Black people can't be beat. I mean, when it's all Black people, but I'm just saying like our Blackness, our Africanness, our connection to the earth and to the spiritual and material world. It's just really powerful, and so you feel it. It's like you can't not feel it. Like I would challenge anybody. I'm not like a dancer or anything. I'm like, but I would challenge anybody like to have been in that setting and not have been moved. Like that's how powerful it was. It was just like
Yeah, it
you couldn't move something. You were moving something. It was gonna happen. So sorry.
Right. It felt like, because I was like, I wonder what the energy is going to be like. That was a question I had to myself. And it was everyone in the room were singing at the top of their lungs together. And when learning the songs and learning how the songs are sung and learning the words to the songs adds to the energy that helps to bring the Orisha down. That's bottom line. So in thinking of ceremony in the song and dance class we had, thinking about how remember, I don't know if y'all remember Baba David when he was talking about music and sound and vibration and the sacredness of it. There's something to it. There's something to that whole resonance in how that helped to bring everyone into, and actually two Orisha came down. Yemanjá came down and stayed, but Obatala came down as well, but Obatala didn't stay. So, and because I was there, friend, that's how I can say I saw that. But it was really beautiful. There was only one drummer, and that one drummer it sounded like two or three because he was and he's a young man. He's just got initiated to Oshun. But he and his father played together, but there was just one drum and I believe one, maybe two shakerays at times. There was two shakerays, but it was a full sound. The room sound was full of music. And Baba Willie, who's the Oriate, who's the elder, he always talks about, I'm retired, I don't sing anymore, but he sang. And when he sang, Andreas, everyone was like, ah, because they were so happy he was singing, because he was feeling the joy of that moment, the way Andreas was talking about. So being in ceremony in that space, it's really important to kind of get out of your head. If I don't incorporate anything else when we're in ceremony and community and Elay and things are happening, getting out of our head and getting out of our thoughts about ourselves and just making room for being in community with other people is really where the magic is. It really is where the magic is. And I think that's what Fermina facilitated in how she and others set up structures for how things are run so that we can be in community together. So putting ourselves in a space where we can have those experiences and be fully present physically and emotionally and spiritually and all those ways that we feel presence is the thing that helps that happen, helps facilitate that to be what it is. And being open to what that can bring, because there's so much that dynamism that can happen in those moments. And being ready and open to experiencing those things is really important. So I'm glad for those who had a chance to come and experience what I went from the invitation I sent out this weekend. I'm glad there were people who were able to come out. And it's going to be next weekend. It's going to be same. It's going to be a lot more happening even next weekend. There's going to be another drum. There's going to be two drums next weekend. There's going to be a ceremony to Yemanjá at the lake here in Chicago. There's going to be a drum to Yemanjá that day, and then there's going to be a drum to Obatala the following day.
So Sunday.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot happening next Sunday too. So I encourage everyone who can come to try to come and be a part of that. Thank you for sharing that, Andreas. That was very helpful. I just want to give the floor to anyone else who wanted to share. Again, I didn't prepare a big lecture today. I wanted this to be more interactive and to give people a chance to ask questions, share experiences, and talk about whatever connections and feelings that came up around this weekend, all of feelings that you want to share and connections that you made for yourself and being in a space that you'd like to share.
I like to go off if you don't mind.
Go off? I don't know if I want nobody going off. I'd rather you stay focused and have clear thoughts that everyone can relate to and hear and understand. I prefer to have.
I can try that on for
Godmother's
size.
a Virgo, honey. She don't do both sides.
Hilarious. Well, to your first question about like how class has facilitated my growth, I feel like there it's helped me to like alleviate all the speculation that I have about just like the way that energy work and just like truthfully my understanding of God because my worldview is that like the Orisha are literally just like the extensions of the one supreme God. And so in understanding the way the Orisha work, I feel like I have a greater understanding of how God works. And yeah, you know, it's about me, like I'm always about the magic, but really the magic is literally just in the living. And so that's what like these classes have really been teaching me that is 9 times out of 10, if is something that's magnificent happening is because like people have actually been putting in the work to like build up to that point and they're just going off of what their character is and not no more no less. But whenever I'm like at the Elay, I'm usually in the kitchen, so it's always a lot of stuff going on and you just got to get in where you fit in because there's always a need for help. But this past weekend especially, I've learned the importance of being grounded going into these spaces. Typically like when Roz got her head marked, I was there for that too. Wow, LOL. And we were like
That's right.
we were actually in the kitchen like cackling because we both felt the energy of Legba around us. And he was talking. I'm like, wait, Mama, you can't be saying this stuff in public. I am about to get on the train, so I just wanted to say a quick tidbit about the importance of being grounded going into these spaces and how like you really don't know what to expect when it comes to that energy because like there is this, it almost feels like this effacement that's going on where you're really getting an understanding of where you are in relation to the energy, and the energy still like takes you for a whirlwind with that too. So
Well
yeah,
said.
that's me and I'm complete.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Actually, I appreciate that. I appreciate your mentioning groundedness. I appreciate your mentioning, you know, the dynamism and getting in where you fit in. And that's a very that can be hard for some people, right? That can be hard to especially when you're used to things being a certain way and then having to really kind of be thrown into a situation where you're having to really kind of readjust your thinking around, okay, what do I do and how do I do a thing? And this and you know, given how things happen in an elay, especially when ceremony is literally happening, and vast majority of the time when you come over, when I invite you to come, because as a priest, I'm there likely at the beginning of when a thing is happening, and I can't, you're not able to help in that time. You're normally happening when things are in motion. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, something is happening. Even when it feels like, I'm gonna say it again, nothing is happening, something is happening, because something's in process. There may be a lull, there may be a dip in energy, but there's always something happening when you're over there. So figuring out in terms of inner alignment questions, where you are in relationship to the energy is important. Because I would rather people who know that they're not feeling it, not to come. If you know you're not feeling it, do not come. Because you're not doing me a favor, and you're not doing anyone else a favor if you don't feel like you really want to be there. Because everyone who comes in ceremony is coming for the Orisha. You're not coming for me. You're not coming for Iya. You're not coming for anyone else. You're coming for the Orisha. The Orisha are at the center of everything that happens, and they are watching everything that happens. And they tell it when they come down. They tell on everybody. And I'm not saying that as a threat, I'm just saying that because I've seen it over 25 years of being in this tradition. I've seen it happen too often. So I would rather people, if you know that, I don't know if I'm feeling like I want to be in that. It's much better not to come, because the Orisha, like I mentioned, are at the center of it. And everything that's done, whether people are happy or smiling and laughing or snapping off at each other, which happens too. It happens because people are human, right? It's all related to someone wanting to make sure something is being done right and well for the Orisha. That is it. That is all. For the ancestors. That is it. That is all. And with Yemanja, her thing is, and Yemanja was the Orisha that was initiated, right? Yemanja, and I don't know if you remember from the class, she is the one that demands order. She's the mother with the eyes on the back of her head, right? She's the one that demands order. She demands things to be in their place. She nurtures, she caresses, she comforts, and she also and she goes by rules. The way things are supposed to be for Yemanja should be in that order. A legba might flip things in and out and up and down on you. I've had that happen because I've been a part of a legba initiations. Everything that you think was supposed to happen a certain way, it will go in, out, up, and down the other way. And he keeps everybody aware and on their toes. Remember I talked about awareness with a legba? When you're in ceremony with a legba and he is at the center of it, everybody is going to be forced into some awareness of themselves or something else in their environment. That is just the nature. That is a legba at work, testing us all the while. That's what a legba does. He tests us, right? They all test us in a sense, but that's a legba really at the center of what much of what a legba does is that. So, I always double, triple check everything when I'm working with the warriors, whatever. My job is to double, triple check everything. Did I bring all the things I need to bring for the house for the ceremony? Do I have all the little things that if you forget that little thing, oh, did somebody bring this? So did I bring the little things? Did I bring the big things? Did I remember to take care of this ahead of time? Did I take care of that ahead of time? Did I bead the necklaces right? Did I do something wrong there? I've had things happen where I didn't do that right and had chaos, right? So a legba tests us, right? But then we have to, forgive ourselves, take the test, take the lesson, forgive yourself, and move on, right? And so there's a lot in these moments of ceremony that we learn about ourselves. Thank you again, Fatumbi, and we learn about how we are in environments. And I can tell you, I've been in a situation myself when I was in a ceremony and I knew I wasn't feeling it. And I'd say, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really not. I can't do it. I can't, And she says, I understand, and thank you for telling me. And I'll call you later. Everybody has that responsibility to check ourselves and check where we are mentally and how we are imbibing in a situation, especially when it comes to working with Orisha. Because that's ultimately who we're all working with, is Orisha themselves. Through the priests and through the energies that the Orisha bring in as we're birthing Orisha, moving things along in someone's life and supporting someone's growth. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that too, because I think I'm glad that came up that way. Fatumi bringing that to the table too, that I was even thinking about even my initial sort of squeamishness, is that the word, around the offering. It's like, but I had to just like drop it, because it was just like, you know what? Because that would have brought that energy to the offering too. So I was thinking in my head, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not the energy that this is for. So I'm just gonna get in there, just like, it just is what I gotta do. So I'm gonna do it, right? As opposed to thinking about what I was doing, right? Just like, being aware of what I was doing, but I mean, not thinking about it, right? Like that. So yeah, I hear you. I can see how, because it's so much, it's all energy.
Thank you.
It's all energy, right? So it's like, yeah, I can see that you have to, from the drum to the singing and everything. It's like
any of those energies being off balance or out of balance is
Yeah.
could mess things up. Yeah.
Yeah, because if somebody think about so you all are really hitting on some really wonderful points. I'm really glad that I opened this up and I'm hearing from everybody because I'm hearing. I'm glad you guys are hearing each other too, because imagine in the energy that was being created and co-created in that room if somebody been sitting on a wall or standing on a wall acting like they didn't belong, how that would have literally sucked the energy out of the room. It would have sucked the energy completely out of the room. And it would have made, for an imbalance, the Orisha would have been like, I don't know if I want to come. People don't even want to be here. I'm not coming where I'm not welcomed. And I've seen that too. I've seen Orisha, people try to, they're going through their own process and Orisha like, oh, nope. So all of that makes a lot of sense. And there is plucking. Plucking is a part of the tradition. Food is sacred.
Baby, them birds.
Food is sacred. I'm gonna say it for the folks in the back. Food is sacred, and that means everything from living to dead is sacred. The chickens that are waiting downstairs and the chickens and the pigeons and the roosters and the ducks and the turtles or whatever else, all of those animals are considered sacred. Every last one of them. They're performing a sacred right and duty. They are performing a sacred right and duty. They are literally, in some cases, helping to save lives. That's what those animals are doing. They are saving lives. They are helping someone. They are standing in a place for someone so that Iku or death doesn't take somebody. And that is a sacred, and so and as a priest, we learn to take that sacrifice they're making very seriously. And the solemnness, even though we dance and sing for the Orishas, as sometimes in part of when we're giving those offerings to them, it's solemn. It's solemn, right? And so we feel and think, and as our ancestors and progenitors thought and felt, that why would we go through all of that process, especially if it's not taking away something negative like if we're not doing a cleaning with the animal and it's not taking away some osobo, if we're literally like a priest being born, if we're literally inviting new life and opportunity for somebody, and that animal's a part of that, what a disgrace to throw it away. What a disgrace not to pluck it. What a disgrace to throw it in the garbage because no one wants to deal with it. And because it's easier that way. And a lot of houses do that. A lot of houses, I'm telling you, our Ile, the way we do things with the initiation of priests, or the initiation into different levels of the tradition, through warriors, through elekes, all of that, our way of doing things where we actually pluck the animals, cook the animals, doesn't happen in most houses. Most houses, and I have to say, many houses throw the animals away after it gave its life. Throws the animal away. And we actually have cooks who are laches in the kitchen who know how to take that animal that was just downstairs, marinate it, cook it, so that when we taste it, it tastes wonderful. And so that's a sacred duty. Plucking that chicken is a sacred duty. It's a sacred duty. What we call pulling the ashes out and, preserving to present back to the Orisha the heart, the lungs, the gizzards, the liver, the wings, the head, the neck, and other parts of the animal to the Orisha, cooked to taste, is sacred. That's a part of ceremony. All of that's sacred. That act of taking that animal and making it presentable to the Orisha with yam balls and corn and all the stuff some of you may have seen. If we came to the middle day and saw all of the food stuffs on top of all of the Orishas, that food is sacred food. It's sacred. And so when we're performing, when we're dealing with those animals that, that don't smell that good, that, all that we're dealing with a sacred right. It's a sacred right. And it's a part of our tradition that we preserve that animal's life, preserve that animal so that we can actually take in the opportunity take in the animal that was presented to the Orisha. We're literally eating food that was presented to the Orisha. And honoring the life that is being born through the priest that's initiated, and honoring the Orisha that took that food and asked for that food and took that food in. So it's all of that. So it's very important that when we talk about inner alignment and Orisha, as I just mentioned, and we talk about taking that food in, that when we come to a middle day and we have all these foods presented, and I know for folks who are vegetarian or vegan, that some folks make some allowances to have just even a little bit of the chicken, or just to taste a little bit, because it's like turning the Orisha away. It's like saying, turning away the Orisha themselves, because we're rejecting the food that was prepared in honor of them, in honor of a priest that they helped to birth, and all the priests and everyone who participated in the process of the initiation helped to birth. So, Joyce joined us. So I just wanted to say that, because I know that we haven't gotten to the nitty gritty stuff, because I've been talking about, different Orisha, but all of this is a part of what the difference between an Ile, where you go to the middle day and they're serving food, but it's all, heralds or something catered, or there's a lot of those. I've gone to them. They have fried chicken, they got lechon or fried chicken, or something else. Lechon is the pork, you guys know, like the stewed and roasted pork. So yeah, we serve the guinea that was sacrificed. We serve the rooster, we serve the hen, we serve the duck. We serve all of that. Well, we don't serve the duck in most cases, depending on how that comes out. But we serve the animals that were sacrificed. We serve the goats. We serve the lamb. That's part of it. And it's pretty good. I mean, they threw down this time. It was pretty good. If you haven't tasted guinea, it's pretty good. But I just wanted to just bring that, and because with what Fatumi and Andrea said, I just wanted to bring that perspective into this idea of inner alignment and actual engagement with ceremony, and what goes into that, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, and that's one thing, working with Orisha spiritually, and as a priest, and as someone who doesn't shy and away from the idea that I am a practitioner. People have their ideas about animal sacrifice and what it means, and what it how it affects their thinking about this tradition, and is it hedonistic, is it idolatry, is it all of these things. And I say, to all of that, we believe that energy is alive and well. It all comes from God, as Fatumi mentioned, all aspects of God. And we do believe that that we are in the marketplace, and that means we make exchanges, and some exchanges mean more than others in terms of how we support somebody. And when we're talking about someone literally being born into a priesthood, that means that there are going to be sacrifices, and those sacrifices do involve animals. And so when we're dealing with ceremonies, and there are very few ceremonies that I can think of where you're receiving an Orisha or going through an initiation of some sort that there is no sacrifice involved. Because that is that's a cornerstone ideal of Orisha tradition is sacrifice. And honoring the life that's given, we do that through how we eat the food that was given. So even regardless of what the ceremony is, if that's possible, if they're not taking away something that was negative in that, and if it wasn't done through a cleaning, then that animal definitely is eaten. Or, you know, sometimes we pluck them and we can't eat them all, and at that ceremony, and we freeze them or we keep them and ask priests to take the animals home so you can have them to share with your family. We do that as well. So I wanted to just address that, just to call it out. So, because everybody should know, it's not anything to be ashamed of, at least not for me. So I just wanted to I wanted to give everyone a chance to think and talk about that and how they feel about that.
I almost accidentally left.
Uh-oh. Don't leave now. That would have been awkward, right?
I almost hit the wrong button.
How do you feel about it? Oh no.
Right, no. Oh man. I really appreciate all of this. As somebody who I feel has perfectly stumbled into this, I guess I'll describe. And with that comes overwhelmingness and being in my head, like my head should probably be as big as this box that I'm in.
You're working on it. You're working on
Yeah,
it.
I am. I think hearing, being in community, not only just saying that, but actually like hearing everyone's stories, for me, like I just popped up on a Zoom. I didn't know anything or anybody, you know, I was just literally learning as I go, which is like story of my life. But being able to just hear different accounts and how ceremony goes, like, yeah, I was just telling you 2 days ago, like asking questions like, what about this? And what do I do with that? And, like, I was just rambling off with questions because I just feel like I have to analyze to feel safe and secure. Stepping into the unknown for me is, I have to calculate.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, if I can calculate the unknown, I'm gonna try to, and then it's like I'll miss out. So it's like I know all of these things about myself, and then I just literally just sit and laugh of like, this is why you're here. And I actually wrote down, as you were talking, Ia, earlier, that I stated that that I fear, because I was tearing up the whole time. I don't know if y'all noticed. I wasn't rubbing my eyes. I was crying. Like, why? I was just getting so emotional hearing everybody's, and my voice gonna start cracking now. But there was just like that fear or anxiousness that I found where I belong, and that I had to be in my body to survive and feel safe for so long. And now I'm found where I can be free. And that just kind of came to me. Nope. Just kind of came to
no
me.
matter what you need to do for yourself, we're here for you and with you.
Yeah. And it just kind of came to me as I was hearing everybody speak outside of like the textbook in class, where I'm a scholar for life. You know, I love learning. I'm always taking notes, but just hearing and like seeing people's experience. And I'm like, okay, Katie, you can just kind of calm down with it and kind of put some ease onto it and just let it soak in, let it marinate. It's not always like rigorous notes and all this stuff and studying for an exam, that there is no exam. This is just life.
Yeah, the life exam.
Yeah. And it's already happening. I'll already say I felt a shift. Like when I first came into this, it was all about, hey, y'all, I'm going to school. Hey, I put in my grad applications. And that's completely turned around now. And I had to, I've been doing like a lot of grieving just in life, not like people or people who passed on, but just a lot of grieving of pain that I've allowed myself to feel. And even with school, I think that was the biggest one, because the one thing I sat at my altar and I'm like, is this it? Like, don't, like, this is, this is what I need to do. Like, don't try to press it. Don't try to find another way. Just sit in it, and really surrendering to a part of me that I created as an identity of being a student and a social worker and all of these titles that now I don't, like, none of those things describe me. And I am none of those things. And so that experience and getting the no, I'm sorry, not yet. I kept hearing like, you got work to do. And I was just like, okay, so maybe it wasn't sitting in a classroom, but just being here right now in this space. So I was able to kind of transition from that. And I think this right now, I don't know how it would have been last weekend, probably, but being right here, right now, it is creating so much ease for everything else to come up, like how to be grounded, and getting out of my own way, and getting out of my head, and just letting myself be free, and knowing that I am safe, and I am secure. And yeah, so thank you.
One thing I really appreciate about ceremony and like just being present in a space like that, Katie, because I was like, I only gotta cry, but I gotta cry now. It really, like, I feel like ceremony space, it's like how life is really supposed to be. And I feel like it gives me like that groundedness and that centeredness within myself that like, okay, I can now embrace the world because I've got like, I've been where I'm supposed to be, so now I can continue to be where I'm supposed to be because I'm always where I'm supposed to be because God is always with me. Having those moments really just like reactivates and reaffirms that, because like you were saying, yeah, about like how there's always something happening, even if it looked like ain't nothing happening. Like spirit is literally moving through the room and clearing stuff out of you because, and like we're doing it as a collective. So I don't know, I'll just be so grateful. Thank you to the ancestor. What her name is for how do you say it?
Amina Gomez.
For Amina Gomez.
Oshabi was her name. Ibaye. Oshabi.
Oshabi. Okay, wait, yeah, what does Ibaye mean?
Ibaye means I pay homage to you, or it's like it's a way to say I pay homage.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it's abbreviated version of Ibaye Layen Tonu, which is as honors all the departed ancestors and spiritual ancestors.
Oh, sorry, we were just we were talking about, because my great grandfather's name was Gomez, but I was like, we don't know that lineage, just the Cuban side other than him. So
oh yeah, that's right.
That might as well be like Smith. It's like it's a very I was gonna say other thing too. I think that I appreciate Katie, your testimonial too just now, and I was telling Esai, I think I might have shared this with Ia too, that like I've been initiating other things, and I've had the pleasure of just different things, right? Just not. I've had the pleasure of like initiating my own son in a fraternity, and then initiating other people and other things I'm part of. And in all of those cases, it's like you never know what's happening until you're on the other side of it. And so one of the things I always tell people is just like, try not to think about it, just be in the moment, right? Like, because every moment, every piece of it leading up to it is actually something teachable. But if you're worried, or if you're concerned, or you actually miss what's about to happen because your mind is trying to tell you something that's different than actually what you're experiencing in front of your own eyes, right? And so, and actually, even in saying that, it's really not until, in my experience and these other things, it's not until you see it from the other side that you actually even know what you just went through. Like, and however long that might have been. So it's like you have to not only be part of it and be witness to it when you're going through it, but then when you're in community initiating other people, you like see it in a different way. And actually, and I'm sure you probably can say the same thing. You kind of see things differently each time too, because there's every even though there's things there's an order to it, it is always different per person, right? And so it's very it's very interesting to kind of just how do you open yourself to it when you know it's a fear of the unknown, because we just don't know what's about to happen. And it's like, but the trust, that's the thing that we, in all the things I've been part of, it's like trust is the big piece. Like I have to trust that the people who I'm with have my best interest and my protection and my health and safety in mind. And so how do I give them myself to be part of that, to let go and let trust that they're going to have me. And in this case, that the Orisha are going to have me, right? That's, have us, have me, or whoever, right? But that's really interesting. And just one last bit, I said that I just think that it was very good to see the inclusiveness of the different elays this weekend. This is my first time actually being in the community, right? We've mostly experienced the community through Zoom. So I've never seen, other than a couple of people in Eastside Warriors, I haven't seen anybody, but just to kind of see the diversity of people in the room, just being inclusive, and I use diversity in a very broad way. It was really exciting to see that. It was it's like, then I know I'm in the right place too, that it was, you know what I mean? Like I'm in the right place. Cause I mean, that means that we're I'm sure it has its issues, but we're an inclusive community between these elays. So that was exciting.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that. I'm gonna give if Joy or Antonica has anything to add or questions to ask. I would like to address that though. What you were witnessing was the representation of Ia's legacy through her priests that she initiated, and again through Fermina Gomez, but so Ia's locally, she's our trunk. And so those of us who are priests have people who we are working with, either they're initiated or they're, studying or have elekes, have have Orisha. And so what you witnessed was everyone in that room was either her grand godchildren or her godchildren. Everyone. And there were a lot of people. I don't even know how many people, but the front room was packed and the back was packed. The whole house was buzzing with people. So there were people there from New Orleans, from St. Louis. The Detroit crew didn't come this time because of all the flooding that they had. Because otherwise they would have been there too. And here in Chicago and in New York. So you had people from who are all members of Ile Khan, but also members of their own Ile, because there was Oyema Jah spoke a lot about when she came down about certain priests. She pulled me up to the front too. She pulled certain priests up to the front to give us information we needed, and had everyone in the room witness what she told us. So and so she talked about certain priests that are initiated from Iya Shabi, and our legacies that we're building. So Andreas and Joy, and as well was a witness to that, as well as Isai. So that's what you witness. And so we have a lot of, and that's why that's how I can tell you personally, that's how I knew I belonged in that Elay too. That's so interesting you said. I felt the same way when I joined the Elay all those, decades ago. So, you had, like you said, a lot of people from different backgrounds and a wide array of diversity. And everyone was loving on each other, and like you say, there's always going to be something somebody gonna say and somebody not gonna like it, but in the general idea of it is that it's a family-like atmosphere, and and I'm sure that's part of how the synergy felt when we were singing and dancing. It was hard to dance with so many people. It's hard to dance, but for those, I got my steps in, So I hadn't danced like that in over a year. That was very, very, very moving in itself. So I want to give Yeah, there are 3 folks I haven't spoken at all. I want to give you all a chance just to, you know, check in with everybody. I'll pick on Joy first, since she was there on Sunday.
I was there. I think I was there on Saturday. I didn't come for the drums.
Yeah, oh, it's Joy Israel. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to
Oh,
say
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Joy,
go for it.
Joey. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you can go ahead. I was just saying, as I was mentioning, since we were talking about the drum, I was mentioning Joy. But you can talk for sure, Joy.
Well, I really don't have much to say. I think that I came in on Saturday and I was coming off of a high. I really was. I have had a whirlwind of wonderful and it's carried on to this week. So I think and being an only child, I ain't good with a whole bunch of people. I'm just not. And I know that about myself, and I have to be honest about who I am. So coming in on Saturday, I really wasn't sure what I was coming into, but when you said just to follow Bridget's lead, I think that's the best thing you could have ever told me. And my camera view of how things was ain't everybody else's. So my camera view was Bridget is awesome in that kitchen. And I needed to see that order and I needed to see how things were done. And she gave me one particular job. I don't care who else came in and told me to do this, to do that, to do. She gave me one job and she told me to stick to that job. And I stuck to that job until I felt like it was really time for me to go because my energy just wasn't matching what was in the room. I'm not saying that I had a bad energy. I just think that I was on some selfish. I have had this wonderful whirlwind of things to happen. And I felt like I had 3 different people telling me to do 3 different things, and I felt like I wasn't being effective. So I just felt like what was best for me and what was best for the room was I saw what I came to see, and that was order and how to do things. And I think his name, I can't remember his name. I think his name was Hezekiah. I can't remember his name.
Hezekiah.
Yes, I think baby, that was the best. That was the best thing. He really tried to show me as much as he could with the shays and dissecting them, but I knew that wasn't really about me. So I had to take this back step, but I was enthralled. I was so enthralled. So I feel so no matter what people camera view of what was going on with me, my camera view was that I really saw what I really needed to see, and it felt good. And I really enjoyed seeing and I didn't mention those raviolis she cooked. Oh my God. But I needed to see that order. And I don't know. I can't always express how I feel sometimes and don't want to, but I really enjoyed being in the kitchen and just kind of watching. And when I was told to do something, that is exactly what I did. Unless somebody told me to do one thing and then somebody came back and told me to do something different than what the other person said, I knew to just stick with what Bridget instructed. And I stayed focused on what she said. So, it was what it was. And also I have to say that I learned a couple of things. I learned a couple of things about myself. And I also learned that, the way you think people should be is not always how they are. And everybody's human and you don't have to personalize nothing. You're right. There was some things that were said to different people, even to me, that I didn't like, but it was what it was. Who cares? I didn't feel out of place. And it was what it was. And it was just it just was on my own high and I enjoyed what I saw and what I came for. And I mean, I feel good about it. I don't know if that was the perfect thing to say, but I can tell you that's just my experience for that one. In the past, I have had different experiences every time I've come, but I can say each time I've come, I've always felt like I walked away with something rich, something that I needed to know or see or experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's good. I think you touched on pretty much everything that we all talked about in one way or another. You pretty much touched on everything. Yeah. Joy, you came on. You came during the drum. What would you what would you share about your experience with the drum?
Well, I enjoyed, you know, being there. That was my first drum, and I wish I could have gotten there earlier. But when I got there, everybody was dancing, and I was in the back, so everybody was dancing, facing the front room. So I saw Andres and Isai in the back, and so I just was like, "What's going on?" They just said we was gonna follow what everybody else is doing. I said, "Okay." So I was also nervous about coming, and I feel like I feel like I've been kind of like out of touch, and so I would just like to be able to just to be around more often so I can be more comfortable, because kind of like what Joey said about being an only child, like it's just you all the time. So for me, I know it's hard for me sometimes to like verbally express myself or even just be social. No, you tell us to socialize, like, but that's even like, what do I say? Who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? Am I supposed to battle this person? I don't like like I just need to know, like what Katie was saying, like just being there and being in the moment, right? And I'm here to learn too. So yeah. What lessons taught us too about accepting food for people who may not be eaters. That was a lesson to learn about accepting and why we accept it. I was glad to learn that lesson, and yeah.
I hope that's helpful to people. Because I realize that we've been, a lot of the classes have been very theoretical, even though I try to bring it into some idea of practical application and some idea of it, about just thinking about how that Orisha works in your life when you're encountering this idea of yourself, or these struggles or these obstacles or these challenges or these opportunities in your own life. But I thought, we had so much happen this past weekend, and this summer is going to be packed with so much happening, that I thought it would be kind of almost dismissive of all of it if I just kind of talked about Dada tonight. You know what I mean? It would be like, oh yeah, all that happened. So let's talk about Dada. It just would have felt wrong. And I think this class should be a place, in terms of inner alignment and exploring what that means, it should be a place where if you have an experience in or with Orisha, that you should have a place to talk about it, and with others who have experiences or haven't had experiences. I think this should be a platform for us to have capacity to see each other through that lens too, right? Because that's the lens that is gonna, that we're all kind of, we're all connected to anyway, right? In some way, shape or form. So that's why I decided to, so everything you all have said, I think talks about where your own thoughts and feelings and experience and place in the world, and how you see that, and how you planted yourself in this new environment or a different environment, and kind of seeing how that affects that experience, or how you're affected by that experience. So that's what I'd hoped we would have a chance to do today. And so we have about 5 more minutes, and I want to give people a chance. Antonika, I know you haven't said anything yet. You're in Florida, and I know you're planning on being out this way a little bit later, but you just want to give everyone a chance to kind of give whatever thoughts you have and want to share.
But I was going to say first, I appreciate everything that everyone has said about attending different ceremonies and what that's like. I'm not an only child, but I do have a difficult time when it comes to like socializing. I can talk, but there have been times where I've gone somewhere and I've left within like 10 minutes because I get overwhelmed um, about what to talk about, or whether or not a person would be interested in what I'm talking about. So I am nervous. I still haven't booked my flight for the reunion because that's what I'm nervous about. Is being in the space. And I've talked to Joy about it, but she's just like, you don't have nothing to worry about. But I do appreciate everything that everyone has said. Especially some of the things that Katie was saying about, the titles that we give ourselves. I don't know if I'm kind of hitting on it or not, but just like, I just feel like I'm just going through a phase of like relearning everything. So I'm pretty frustrated every day. And always just trying to adjust and trying to think about things in a different way. But yeah, that's part of the reason why I don't really want to be in spaces with people. Whenever I'm struggling with something, it's really hard for me to be like, amped up about being in spaces with, a community of people because I don't want to bring that energy around to anyone. So I'm still pretty nervous about that. But I do appreciate that everyone shared what their experiences have been. And I especially, I love listening to Roz talk about her story and who she thought, whatever. And I just thought that was funny. But I do appreciate that everyone has shared some of their experiences that they've had, and like just being present. That's really hard for me because I'm always thinking about what I need to do later, what I haven't done the previous day. I'm always like, I have to do stuff a certain way or everything is just going to feel like, a mess. And that's what life feels like right now, is a mess because I can't plan. I just have to do. And it's just different right now. So I do enjoy being in this space. I think that being in this space and being in community with all of you has really helped me a lot. As far as just like having a space, I know I don't talk a lot. And that's just because I have this thing where being safe in the world. So I like to listen and feel out everything before I respond. And sometimes when I listen to everything, sometimes I realize I don't need to say anything. I just need to listen. And then there are times where I feel like I should have said something, but it is what it is. But yeah, I enjoy tonight's discussion and everybody sharing their experiences.
Yeah, I'd like to incorporate this more. I think it's important. I think the downloading is good, but I think the downloading without some ability to kind of talk through and process, in the moment, I think it makes it hard to feel like it connects or sticks to our personal walls. So I'm going to do my best to incorporate more of this into what we do in this class. But I really appreciate every single one of you a lot. I think that what was shared not only helped me, everyone helped each other tonight. And to see ourselves and see each other a little more clearly. And that's always important. And because that's how you build community, right? So I'm really happy and glad that we had everyone's with Isai. He was nodding and he was a hype man over there. He wasn't so I'll take that. I'll take that too.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So the question is about the duck.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I didn't get. So I guess that one of the priests was doing the duck.
Yes.
And she could not talk. I didn't know.
Right. She could not
until
talk.
I think Hezekiah came over and asked her, could he tell me why she couldn't talk or why she wasn't responding to me, rather. And so he explained to me that when you are doing the duck, you can't talk or respond to people because these were his words verbatimly, because everybody in the room will know all your business and it'll be on Facebook.
I know why he said that. I'm gonna go over class time to explain this. So this related to a pataki about the duck. So here we go from learning to application and study and application. So the duck is, I'll just say briefly, because it's actually a fairly detailed pataki. The duck is a tattler. And the duck told about something that happened to him, and that's how, and him telling put other things in motion that should not have been in motion. So the duck is a witness to a lot of things, particularly as it relates to Yemanja. And in order to make sure that the duck is not going to tell our business, we do certain things in ceremony with the duck to make sure that the duck is not privy to everything that's happening. And when the duck is plucked, even, we're quiet because we don't want the duck to be a witness to anything that happened that the duck is in the presence of. So the duck, because the duck has this nature to tell, we do everything to be quiet in the presence of the duck so that the duck does not tell what the duck witnesses.
What they got to do with Facebook?
He was being silly, he was being a little facetious, but he was basically saying that the duck is a witness to whatever is happening in whatever space it's in, and that the connection of the duck to the world beyond is that your business will be out there if the duck is the person plucking the duck is talking and responding and giving feedback and all of that.
Gotcha.
So he was being facetious, but he was basically referring in part to the pataki about the duck, in that where the duck actually tattled and changed things in a very bad way in that particular pataki. So so that's why we don't give the duck opportunity to see or hear what's happening.
Understood.
Okie dokies. So yes, Isai.
My dad was wondering.
He does this all the time. Oh, you kill me with that one. Go ahead, Isai.
Dad was curious so when I got my leques in Brazil, and basically they were like soaked in the special, I don't know what it's called, but the special herb water.
Omiero, yeah.
Omiero.
Yes, very well said. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. He was wondering if it's official, like if those leques are official.
Yeah.
But you haven't received them from your Iya either, though, right? So they're different.
No.
They're official, right? But they're different, right?
Well, Iya just said
Exactly. They're different official.
Yeah.
Those are sacred. They were given to you by the hand of a priest and consecrated by the hand of a priest. So they are official. They are alekes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you received one for Asuhano and for a Path of Elegba, yes.
Did you receive it? You didn't hear what
the Elegbas that you received.
I received. You mean in Brazil or here?
Mm-hmm. In Brazil.
In Brazil, I don't know. I think it was just the regular Elegba leques. Like I don't think it was a specific road.
Right. It was just a Elegba. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was a Elegba. It was likely a specific road. Elegba has roads in pretty much all the all of the branches of the tradition. Elegba has roads. So you inherited somebody's road in Brazil. And I believe also Babaluaye, right? Which is also Hana.
Yep.
Yes, that's the other Eleka you. Yeah, so you have the Eleka of Asohana and you have an Eleka of Elegba. Yes. From those were from Brazil.
You still got some work to do, my brother.
Is that official enough for you?
Oh, I didn't think they were unofficial. I just didn't know. I didn't know if he had to receive specifically from you. That's all. I was kind of more curious.
Yeah, I mean, people receive Elekes from other houses, even here. And depending on how that works, either they keep them or they break their ties with the person they receive them with, and everyone has that option.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you want to move, if you want to go to another Ile, or you want to begin your life there, or decide that this is no longer a path for you, there's a process for that as well. And that goes with the Orisha. That process is with the Orisha.
That is interesting.
So the process begins with the Orisha, as you guys know, with the Orisha giving permission and blessings for it, and it ends with the Orisha.
Everybody's like, that was a good question.
No, they weren't. They were like, you cutting in on our Friday night time with your specific.
It's funny. They're like,
Uh,
all right.
Yeah, this is one. I think my friend. I didn't know this, but I think it's important to hear from me in the Gomez piece too. When I was talking to my friend, and he was like, "You had what did you call it when you had our head mark? You used a term, yeah,
Bahada.
Bahada." He was like, "That was done by Baba Willie." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, he stopped, and he was like, "Man, that's huge." But I don't know that, right? I'm just like, oh, okay, you know.
I didn't tell you guys. I didn't
Right.
want you to make a big deal out of it, but he is, yeah. And he's my Oriate. He's my godfather. He's one of my godfathers.
Wow. Yeah, he was like, that's huge. I was like, really? He's like, you should be telling your lineage, if you ever have one, about that experience. I was like, okay, I didn't know that. So
Yeah, he's a big deal. The person who marked your head is a big deal.
it's good to know. Oh, and the woman, I know I saluted her, but I forgot her name. The woman who was taking notes too.
Oh yes, that's my Ajubona. That is Oshunleye. Yeah, Tiambe.
Oh, so that's okay. I've heard you say the name, but okay.
Gotcha. If you hear every single time I'm Ojiba, you hear me say her name. You hear me say Eladio Ba, which is Baba Willie's initiated name too. I give homage to him as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that woman. I love her.
Yep. That's my heart. All righty. So I wanted to have a meeting. I'm gonna stop the recording. But yes, so